Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Janine Harry, a communication scientist by profession, here to give you self awareness strategies and communication tips through conversation. So, thank you so much for being here with me today. I just want to say that I was extremely reluctant to make this particular video. I was thinking, like, oh my word, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? Like, I was really scratching my head about this one. And then I realized that I just want to be 100% transparent. I want to keep it real. I want to be vulnerable. I want to share my story. I want to share my testimonies. So, here I am with my very first story time, in which I am going to be discussing my former food addiction that I had in the past. Okay, and guys, I am shaking right now. So please be with me as I become really vulnerable. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? Now, I know that I've been speaking so much about social media, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. And it is, of course, a conversation that we cannot avoid. We cannot avoid speaking about social media because we are quite literally living in the digital age, right? Now, if you are an extremely observant person like myself, proudly, you will realize that the online space actually enables addictive behaviors. And what this means is that people actually take the addictions and they turn it into something that is trendy and popular. Okay. So, for example, if you have an addiction for shopping and buying tons and tons and tons of clothing, instead of you actually addressing the problem, social media will make you believe that all you got to do is just start a fashion blog and do fashion tutorials. If you have an addiction for gossiping, instead of addressing that addiction, social media will be like, oh, that's fine. All you got to do is just subscribe to our mini gossip channels. And back in the day, there used to be like this huge hype around celebrity gossip. But now, more recently, normal people are gossiping about other normal people. So if you have any type of social media presence, guess what? Your private life becomes of interest to so many people. And if, like myself, you have a little bit of a food addiction, instead of addressing that problem, social media will make you believe that all you got to do is just start a food blog or a YouTube mukbang channel whereby you just basically sit in front of your camera, eat copious amounts of food, whereby at the end of the video you're just like, and I rate this chicken a 10 out of 10. Okay? Crazy right there. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a passion for shopping or having a passion for food. But it becomes an addiction when you go to extreme lengths to create certain types of content to which it also affects your life in detrimental ways. And this now leads me to speaking about my food addiction. So, I have always, like always loved food. And when I say that I've always loved food, what I mean is that I loved food a bit too much, okay? There was this sort of obsession with food and wanting to eat all the time. And my addiction started in 2016 when I decided to create an Instagram page entitled The J and Food Combo. So, this is what I wanted to do with this particular page, right? I wanted to do restaurant reviews. And what this means is that I wanted to frequently, emphasis on frequently, oh my word, visit restaurants, order food, take pictures of my food, and then post these pictures on my Instagram page and create a caption in which I would be speaking about the ambience of the restaurant as well as speak about the food item that I had ordered and eaten. And it's crazy because I was sort of like doing free advertising for restaurants, all in the hopes of sort of like getting other people to also try those restaurants out. But it's fine, because I never actually had a huge social media presence at the time anyway, and I still don't. Um, but I was really excited about my Instagram page because in 2016, food and its connection with social media was something that started trending. There was a sort of hype around food and media, etc. And I was super excited to just be a part of this particular hype. But my addiction really escalated in our favorite year, the year 2020. Now, if you are South African, you will know that in South Africa, fast food chains were closed down during the pandemic to help us maintain social distancing, right? And this means that food delivery companies as well as Uber Eats were not operating. And this meant that we as South Africans needed to cook our own food as well as eat out of our own kitchens. And I remember going to the grocery store and buying tons and tons of ingredients, all in the hope of recreating restaurant food items. And I remember cooking what was called a seafood and cashew nut paella. And that dish that I created was such a hit amongst my family members. My parents were like, "Oh my word, Janine, this tastes so good. Can we have a second and a third helping?" And I was like, "Sure, go ahead." I was just super chuffed about the fact that my family was enjoying my creation. And that is how things basically continued. I was continuously recreating restaurant dishes and impressing my family. And it was at that time that I developed a sort of ego because I realized that, hey, I can cook. I can actually cook, hey, I've got a skill. And then I decided to take my skill to TikTok and I started like uploading all these videos of myself cooking food step by step. I even created an online PDF document in which I decided that I wanted to be a part time food developer. So I started creating like little recipes and organizing it into, as I said, a recipe book. And I was sort of like addicted to the attention and the views that I was getting on TikTok because, as you know, like if you know anything about TikTok, you would know that because of the algorithm, you are able to get views and engagement so much faster than you would on any other social media platform. So, for example, if you are a YouTuber, it will take you quite some time to build your community. But if you post on TikTok, you are actually able to build a community in under a week. Okay. That's how much engagement and views your videos can get. So I was really chuffed with the interaction I was getting. A lot of people were saying things like, "Oh my word, your food looks so good," because we obviously eat with our eyes first, right? People were also saying things like, "I would love to taste your food. I would love you to invite me over for supper one night." And I think that I actually forced myself to create content because I was so needy for the validation and the attention at the time. And you're probably thinking at this point, okay, Janine, come on. It was just you having a passion. Like, this is just you enjoying your passion for food and showing the world your skill. But here's the thing, guys, there was a darker side to all of this, okay? There is a huge difference between having a passion for something and being addicted to something. And my relationship with food was not a passion, it was not simply a hobby, it was an addiction. And I'll tell you why. It was an addiction because I spent tons and tons and tons of money just to buy food, just to make food, just to go to restaurants. And I'm so embarrassed to say this, but I mean, transparency is key, right? I had such a bad relationship with myself to the point where I never used my money to invest in myself wisely, to buy things that actually impacted my life in a positive way. All I wanted to do was buy food and not just any food, food that was really unhealthy for me. And behind closed doors, I was actually suffering because of my addiction for food and my simultaneous addiction for showcasing my relationship with food on social media. What was happening behind closed doors is that I was gaining lots and lots and lots of unhealthy weight. I also became physically ill to the point where I developed chronic fatigue. I had continuous muscle aches. I developed stomach issues. Different parts of my body was burning. And at the time, I said, well, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I instinctively knew because here's the thing, we know our bodies. Nobody knows our bodies better than we do. I instinctively knew that I was suffering as a result of my relationship with food. And what people also didn't know was that I used food as a coping mechanism. I used food to fill a void within myself. During that time, I was feeling completely empty. I was experiencing this perpetual cycle of self hate and self loathing to the point where the only thing that made me feel better was to indulge in food. There were so many times that I wasn't even hungry, but I just turned to food for comfort. There were so many times when I didn't even feel like going to a restaurant, but I would spend money unnecessarily on food just for the sake of creating content so that I could get some sort of engagement and attention. So this was not just a passion, this was a very serious addiction, and nobody knew that. All people saw was me showcasing my skill. All they thought was that, oh, this must just be a amazing skill and talent. But they did not know that there was a darker side to my relationship with food. And that was the fact that I had an extremely unhealthy addiction with it. Now, my social media pages regarding food is still up. However, I'm no longer creating content. I've not been creating content on those pages for quite some time now. And I have not been in any sort of hurry to delete specifically most of my food content because I believe that at the time I posted those videos and those pictures with clean intentions. I was even like really super excited when I released my recipe book. And even though I am no longer posting food content, I know that my content will still be of value to somebody. For example, somebody might need a recipe and they might find my recipe really useful. So the things that we have seen in the past or posted in the past will still have value today. It will still serve a purpose to someone else, even though we do not necessarily walk in that purpose any longer. And here's the thing, I am always going to love food. I'm always going to love visiting restaurants and trying out different cuisines. But the difference between now and then is that now I'm not going to post that sort of content through the lens of self love. I'm going to post it through the lens of the self love that I have for myself, not the self hate. Sorry. Okay. And what that means is that if I am posting something through the lens of self love, I'm going to be doing it in moderation. I'm not going to feel that I need to have this compulsive sort of behavior towards constantly wanting to seek instant gratification through the posting thereof. Okay, that is the huge difference between now and then. And I think it is so important for me to speak about food addiction within the context of social media and specifically to speak about addictions in all its forms within this particular context because we need to be so mindful about the content that we consume. Because here's the thing, it is so easy to idealize people on social media and to become obsessed with the things that they are posting and the types of content that they are creating. But we so need to practice discernment when engaging with these types of content because you have no idea. You have absolutely no idea what people are settling for just to receive certain forms of attention. Not everything you see is what it may appear to be. Okay? So, thank you so much, guys, for listening to my story time. It took a lot of bravery to create this video and to be really honest about my food addiction because there was a time that I was like really proud of my food blog. But now that I see things way more clearly and I've decided to take a step back, I see things for what it is. And that is why I feel so brave enough to come forward and to share my story. And I hope this inspires you to take a closer look at your life, to observe the patterns and the behaviors in your life, and to ask yourself, am I passionate about something or am I addicted to something? And instead of allowing social media to sway you into turning your addiction into something popular, something that is trending, allow yourself to address the root issue and causes of your addiction. And it is at this point that I want to leave you with a quote that absolutely resonates. It comes from young Pablo, and he says, I was never addicted to one thing. I was addicted to filling a void within myself with things other than my own love. And wow, if that ain't the truth, I don't know what is. Guys, if you want to keep in touch with me, you may subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also visit my Instagram page at Infinia Communications. You can also read my online blog articles at janineharry90.wordpress.com, or you can email me to make use of my resources, which are available at janineharry90 at gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Till next time, much love.